So in a year where Apple was giving us everything Apple Intelligence related and how it was going to revolutionize how we use our iPhones and make our days even easier, sometimes the simplest utilities are what I end up using the most when it comes to an iOS perspective. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about. So here are the 12 iOS features that are built natively into your iPhone or other Apple products that I think everybody should know about, and the most used ones that I had in 2024 that hopefully you guys can adopt and start to use in 2025. Let's get into it. So now before we get started, I do want to mention that I am running iOS 18.2 on my 16 Pro Max here, but all these features and utilities don't need to be on the latest version. They've actually been around for a little while now, but I did want to just make that clear. And the very first thing I'm going to mention is actually twofold. First and foremost is the ability that we now have, which is an iOS 18 feature actually, is we have the ability to change what's on the lock screen in terms of these shortcuts down here. As you may recall, normally it's always a flashlight on the left and the camera on the right. And being able to change this, all you have to do is hold down on the lock screen. We're going to go to customize here, go to the lock screen here, and then you have the ability to change it to what you want. As you can see, I actually have something different because I no longer need this to be a camera shortcut since I have the camera control button, which is a foreshadow into a future utility. But you can actually go in here, we'll press a minus sign, you can add it on here, and even abundance of different shortcuts that you can choose from. So I do want to mention that being able to change this has been an absolute game changer. And not only that, but you can change it based on different focus modes that you have set up. So if you have a focus mode set up with one home screen or one lock screen, with certain utilities on the actual lock screen, it'll change based on your focus mode. So I do love having that. And if I want to put this as home, I can just do that, and now I have access to home. But you might be wondering what the shortcut I chose was, and that's actually going to be reducing the white points. So if I long press on this button right here, you can see that my screen actually dimmed down. If I long press it again, it's going to go back to full brightness. And what I like about this white point balance, which is going to be the second utility, is if I go into my settings and actually scroll and search for it right here, which is going to be white point, which is in the accessibility and then display and text size. And what reduce white point allows you to do is actually reduce the intensity of the bright colors, which ultimately reduces the overall brightness of your iPhone. So if I go here and reduce the brightness all the way down, you can still clearly see what's on the screen. Maybe not super clearly, but you can see that it's still there. And especially in a darkly lit environment or something where there's no light, even at its lowest brightness setting, it can actually be too bright for what I need it to be. So if I tap on this reduce white point, it actually gets even darker, and it almost gets to a point where it's not visible. So when you're in extremely dark environments, I love to be able to have this because let's say I am putting my daughter to sleep and it's pitch black in there. I don't want my iPhone light to be so bright that it's getting in the way of somebody falling asleep. So now where I'm able to do that, I'm going to go back to the normal brightness here, but that is going to be my most used utility of 2024, reducing white point. So the next one is going to be standby mode. Standby mode was introduced last year with iOS 17, and it's something that I've actually used more and more throughout the year because it just gives me a nice at-a-glance visual of what's going on my iPhone. But if you go into our settings, this is what it looks like when it comes to standby mode. It is varying depending on which iPhone you have. If you have iOS 18 running, it'll work all the time, but it works best when you have an always-on display type of iPhone, which is going to be the iPhone 14s and newer when it comes to which phones support the always-on display. But if you go into the display here, you have some settings here to automatically turn it off after 20 seconds or never. And if you do have an older iPhone that still does support something like standby mode, putting this to never as long as you're plugged in and charging is always a good look. And then you have your night mode, which makes it turn into that red tint, which we're actually familiar with when it comes to the Apple Watch. But it's very simple. If you just lock your screen, rotate it to landscape mode, give it a second, it should actually go into standby mode on its own, and then you can see right here that it did do that. And now you have a couple of different ways to actually use this and manipulate it. I like to keep it very simple. I like to just know the time, the date, and the weather, and then you can swipe across to actually change it to different portions of the actual standby mode, and then you have your widget section. So this is editable similar to any other widget. And you're able to then go in here and change your different widgets if you want to and add different ones, and then also be able to control your smart home if you want to. But like I mentioned, I like to keep mine simple with just a clock right here, and even here you can then start to switch around and see exactly which type of font or which type of view you would want out of your actual standby mode clock. The next two have to do with your Apple Watch. It's going to be the ability to use your Apple Watch as a viewfinder when it comes to using your camera. So it's very easy to pull up. You just go into your Apple Watch, press the little camera remote button, and then it will open up your camera immediately. Now sometimes it is a little bit hit or miss, so you might have to move it around and actually delete it and open it back up, but you still will always have the ability, as you can see, to control the focus, control if you're zooming in or zooming out with the actual digital crown, and then you have a timer to take it right here. It'll time down, and then you can take that image. You also have the ability now to reverse it, so if I go into my settings here, you can actually change it to the front camera if you want to. Hello. So being able to use your Apple Watch as a viewfinder is something that I've used for years and years, especially when it comes to lining this stuff up for a YouTube video. And the second one is being able to use your Apple Watch very easily to unlock or to use it as a biometric unlock for your Mac computer. So being able to unlock it to get into the actual computer, being able to then use it to autofill passwords is something that I use every single day. And then to stay in that same light when it comes to using the camera control button is something that I've actually used every single day since I started using it. Now, I don't use it how Apple wants you to use it. I don't really use it to control my camera. I literally only use it to open up the camera application. Because it's nice to have a physical button, let's say in my pocket, I'll tap it in my pocket, so when I pull my phone out, I have the camera app ready to go and I don't have to miss a moment. And then again, going back to that reduced white point, I'm now able to get rid of that camera shortcut on the lock screen because I do have the camera control button. Now, I don't really use this function. I don't try to use it as an actual control to zoom in and out or even change anything. It's responsive, it's nice, it's whatever. But for the most part, I don't really use it. I only use it to open up my camera app, but I do use it very often. Some other utility apps that I use are going to be the Measure application. So every iPhone has the Measure app built into it. And now I don't really use the ruler aspect of it all because you can do that if you want to. So if I press on here, you can actually measure the distance of certain things. So let's say if I move this around over here, you can measure it in inches, you can actually manipulate it, see what that looks like in centimeters and stuff like that. But I'm actually using the level more than anything. This is what I use to hang my paintings up or hang any frames that I have because it is very easy to use. You can turn it around, you can set the actual origin right here. So if you want this to be your 0, you can actually do it that way. If you want to reset it, you just long press, which is nice to see. So overall, I like this, and it also works on the Z-axis, so if you need to see if something is level to the ground, it'll work that way as well. The next one is going to have to be guided access. So if you're in the App Store, or if you're into any application for that matter, and you want to share your phone with somebody else, let's say you want to give it to your child or something like that to play with for 5 minutes, but you don't want them to leave any single application, you can just triple click on your locks button, and then you get this guided access button that allows you to make the person that's using the application not be able to leave. As you can see, my home bar is actually gone and it's disappeared. I can't swipe up to leave. I can do whatever I want in the application, go to different menus in the application itself, but when it comes to actually leaving the app, it won't let me until I triple click again, press the guided access button, then I type in the passcode, I press end, and then you're back to being able to control your iPhone like normal. So being able to use guided access in certain situations and environments has been awesome. The next one's going to have to be being able to use your spacebar and long pressing to then turn it into a cursor. So this is one that I use all the time to be able to really pinpoint where I need to go, because if I want to tap on it, sometimes it's hit or miss. If I want to get in between some letters, I can't really do that. If I try to tap, let's say if I want to go to the M in remote, I have to like really go in there and maybe long press here to get the magnifier. Where instead, if I have the keyboard up, I just long press on the spacebar and it turns into kind of like a trackpad mouse cursor situation. Let's say if I want to go in the middle of launch, go right here, and then I can add it and manipulate it how I see fit. So just a few more here that I think are going to be beneficial to know. The next one's going to be pinging your iPhone from your Apple Watch, which is something that happens almost every single day because my iPhone ends up in the middle of the couch or I maybe leave it upstairs. And it's very easy to do. You just pull up your Apple Watch here, press the side button, scroll down to right here, you can actually ping it. And not only that, but it's going to actually use the same Find My kind of UI and navigation. So if you are farther away, it'll actually guide you to where your iPhone is, which is a new development. You've been able to ping your iPhone for a while now, but I believe with iOS 17 or iOS 18, this new feature came about to be able to not only ping it with actual noise, but then be able to use this as a kind of guide the same way you can find an AirTag in that same UI. Absolutely love that when it comes to being able to find your iPhone with your Apple Watch. And then another fun one has to be the remote application. Being able to use any iDevice, whether it is your Apple Watch or your iPhone, to control your Apple TV is absolutely amazing. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've actually misplaced the Apple TV remote because it's a little bit on the smaller side and very sleek. So then being able to just pull up your iPhone and being able to turn off and on the Apple TV, even when it isn't on, you can still physically turn it on with your iPhone as opposed to needing the actual remote, and then being able to control it like normal and very easily. And then not only that, but you can actually type using the keyboard on both the iPhone and the Apple Watch. So that being built in is an awesome and great feature that's built into the Apple ecosystem. Another big one that I've actually really liked is going to be the Reduce Interruptions Focus mode. This one did come with Apple Intelligence and the new iOS 18 update, but it's basically smartly deciding what to let through when it comes to this. Now, I only have one edit in here, which is I allow my wife's phone calls and texts to always come through no matter what the case is, and that's the only one that I've actually had to manually do. But outside of that, it's done a great job of actually sending me what I need to know during the day and what I don't need to know, hide it for later, and then depending on the time of day, maybe during the workday, I actually get a Slack notification that'll come through. But if it is at nighttime and I still have this on, that Slack notification will not come through because it knows it's nighttime and it knows, hey, he's done working for this moment. But that is going to be the reduce interruptions, which is my most used focus mode so far. And the last one has to be screenshots, and then more importantly, screenshot annotations. So being able to just screenshot anything, going in here, and let's say you're having to sign a document if you need to, going down here and signing or pointing something out, being able to screenshot and being able to then mark up and annotate in real time is something that has been amazing to see overall because I just use it so frequently and so often. So those are going to be the 12 most used features that I've had in 2024 that I'm more than likely going to be using a lot in 2025. Let's finish up this video. So that will just about do it for this video, everybody. As you saw, there's an abundance of different iOS features that are kind of under the radar that have really been around for a very long time. And these are the ones that I use on a day-to-day basis and the ones that I use most frequently. So again, some of these were a little bit on the niche side, some of the use cases might have been just very specific to myself, but some of them are a little bit more for the general public as well, and I just hope that you pick one of these and add it to your arsenal in 2025 moving forward. But like I mentioned, that'll do it. If you made it to the end of this video, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know you made it to the end of the video. And if you want to watch more videos like this one, definitely check out one of these videos right here, and definitely stay tuned because we have a lot of content coming here in early 2025. So definitely get strapped up and subscribe to the channel, everybody. Peace.